You're staring at your app. The market is hitting all-time highs. Everyone on the internet is getting rich. But you have $4,000 in savings, your electric bill just spiked, and you feel poorer than ever. You're not crazy. The 2026 economy is a rigged game, and the new tax bill just proved it. Today, I'm exposing what Wall Street is hiding and exactly what I'm doing with my own money to survive it. My name is Pa, and I spent years watching how the financial machine actually works. Not from some YouTube thumbnail, but from the inside. And I am going to walk you through what is actually happening in 2026, what nobody on financial television has the incentive to tell you, and what I am personally doing with my own money. Not what sounds good, what I'm actually doing. There is a difference. Let's start with the thing everyone's celebrating, like it is Christmas morning, the so-called big beautiful bill. Here is what your favorite finance influencer told you. New tax deductions, overtime pay deductions, tips excluded from federal taxes. The SALT cap went from $10,000 to $40,000, more money in your pocket. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds like the government finally remembered you exist. Here is what they didn't tell you. The same bill, the exact same piece of legislation, hands corporations 100% bonus depreciation and lets them immediately write off their entire R&D spending. You know what that means in plain English? It means while you are saving maybe $1,200 a year on your overtime deduction, some company in Delaware with 3 employees and a PO box is shielding $47 million from the IRS legally. You get crumbs, they get the bakery, and here is the part that should make you actually angry. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, the government's own people, are out here publishing data showing that real wages are growing. By how much? A fraction of a percent above inflation. That is like telling a drowning person, good news, the water level dropped by half an inch. Technically accurate, functionally useless. But let's play their game for a second. Let's say consumer spending does tick up. Let's say people do have an extra $80 a month from these deductions, where that money is going. It is going straight to your electricity bill, which has jumped 7% after being basically flat for over 20 years. Why? Because every tech company on the planet is building AI data centers that consume more power than small countries. Your tax savings aren't a raise, they're a subsidy for NVIDIA's electric bill. That is not an exaggeration. That is not fuzzy math. That is the transfer of wealth happening in real time, and you're applauding it because someone told you to. Now, let's talk about interest rates because this is where things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean terrifying if you understand what is actually being said out loud. Jerome Powell's term as Fed chair ends in May. That is not a rumor. That is a calendar. And Donald Trump, on his own social media platform in public, for everyone to see, said, and I quote, "Anyone that disagrees with me will never be the Fed chairman." Let that sink in for a second. The person who controls the interest rate lever for the largest economy on earth is about to be chosen based on one qualification, loyalty. Not economics, not monetary policy experience, loyalty. We're about to get a Fed chair whose entire job description is say yes faster. And sure, lower interest rates typically push stock prices up. That is Econ 101. Cheaper borrowing means companies expand, people buy houses and cars, money flows, beautiful. Textbook. But here is what the textbook doesn't. T mention, the Fed is also quietly buying $40 billion in treasury bills every single month. Every single month. That is quantitative easing with a fake mustache on. They did the same thing after 2020 to restart the economy. You know what that means? It means the growth you're seeing isn't organic. It is manufactured. The Fed is essentially printing money and injecting it into the financial system, and everyone's looking at the stock market going up and thinking, wow, the economy is strong. No, the economy is on life support and someone keeps cranking up the morphine drip. It feels great until it doesn't. Now, here's the part that should genuinely keep you up at night. Corporate profits in 2025 were massive, record-breaking in many cases. Stocks went up, investors celebrated champagne, Lambos, whatever. At the same time, the exact same time, nearly 1 million jobs were cut. Read that again. Companies are making more money than ever while employing fewer people than before. And the explanation everyone's giving you is AI. AI is making companies more productive with fewer workers. And they say it with a smile, like, this is good news, like efficiency is always a victory. But here's what nobody wants to say out loud. Those aren't just workers. That is your dad, that is your mom's coworker who is 57 and has been doing accounts payable for 30 years. That is your neighbor who just bought a house. These are real people getting replaced by a chatbot that hallucinates 15% of the time, and we all just cool with it because the stock went up. The stock market is not the economy. I need you to tattoo that on the inside of your eyelids. When someone tells you the market is doing great, ask them, great for whom? Because what we actually have is a K-shaped economy. Two completely different realities existing side by side. If you own assets, stocks, real estate, crypto, you're watching your net worth climb while sipping oat milk. If you don't tea, you are watching your grocery bill go up 22% in 3 years and trying to figure out which subscription to cancel this month. And I don't see this getting better. In fact, I see three very specific things making it worse. One, electricity costs are going to keep climbing because AI data centers are sucking the grid dry, and that race isn't slowing down. Two, 22 million Americans are about to see their health insurance premiums explode. 22 million, that is not a rounding error, that is a crisis with a deductible. Three, the job market is going to create far fewer positions in 2026 because every HR department in America just realized they can replace 3 people with one API call. But, the stock market is still going up. The S&P 500 is doing great. Yeah, let's talk about that. The average historical P/E ratio for the S&P 500 is around 16. Right now, it is hovering around 30. That means investors are paying nearly double the historical average for every dollar of corporate earnings. Some people look at that and say, we're due for a crash. Other people say, this time is different because AI and stuff. And honestly, both sides have evidence. In 2003, the P/E ratio was 32, and the market still ripped 29% that year. In 2021, it was 38, and the market still crushed it. So high P/E ratios don't automatically mean doom. But you know what they do mean? They mean the margin for error is razor thin. One bad catalyst, a recession, a geopolitical crisis, one earnings miss from Nvidia, and the whole thing could unravel like a cheap sweater in a washing machine. I'm not saying the sky is falling, I'm saying the sky is expensive, and nobody's checking if the scaffolding can hold. So what am I actually doing with my money? First, I am watching the S&P 493. Not the S&P 500, the 493 companies that are in the Magnificent Seven. Because here's the thing, the earnings growth of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, it is slowing down. Still positive, but decelerating. Meanwhile, the other 493 companies, their earnings growth is actually accelerating. These are companies that got left behind during the AI gold rush, and some of them are starting to look like actual bargains. We might be seeing the early stages of a rotation, and if that happens, being 100% concentrated in big tech is going to feel like showing up to a knife fight with a participation trophy. Second, I'm looking at small cap stocks. Smaller companies, the ones tracked by ETFs like IJR, IWM, VB, their valuations are significantly more reasonable than the large caps. And here is the kicker. These small companies tend to be domestically focused and heavily reliant on borrowing. A Trump administration obsessed with domestic growth, plus a yes-man Fed chair cutting rates aggressively. That is basically a tailored stimulus package for small caps. The setup is almost too obvious, which makes me both excited and suspicious. Third, and this might shock you, international stocks outperformed US stocks in 2025. The MSCI All Country World ex-US Index was up 29% compared to the S&P 500 17%. That is the biggest gap since the 2009 financial crisis. International markets have more reasonable valuations, their central banks are cutting rates, and the global economy is genuinely rebounding. The American exceptionalism trade might be getting a little crowded. And fourth, I'm cautiously increasing my crypto position, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not because I think they're going to the moon or whatever cult language the crypto bros are using this week, but because I believe the US dollar is going to continue weakening in 2026, foreign governments are actively diversifying away from US treasuries and the dollar. Because, surprise, when your president threatens to blow up the global trade system every other Tuesday, people start looking for alternatives. Gold had its run in 2025. I think crypto absorbs some of that diversification flow in 2026. Now, here's where I get honest with you in a way that most people on the internet won't. I could be wrong about all of this. Every single prediction I just made could blow up in my face. The market could crash 30% tomorrow because of something none of us saw coming. That is not a cop-out, that is reality. Anyone who tells you they know what is going to happen with certainty is either lying to you or selling you a course. What I do know is this: the game is increasingly rigged in favor of people who already have money. The tax bill proves it, the K-shaped economy proves it, the fact that companies can fire 1 million people and see their stock price go up proves it. So, what do? You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the perfect entry point. You stop reading articles about what billionaires are buying and start understanding why they're buying it. You learn how money actually works. Not the Instagram version, not the TikTok version, the real version. The version with spreadsheets and tax implications and compound interest calculations that make your eyes glaze over but will change your life in 10 years. Because here is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear: the system is not going to fix itself for you. The big beautiful bill isn't going to save you. A rate cut isn't going to save you. The next hot stock tip isn't going to save you. The only thing that is going to save you is understanding the game well enough to stop getting played by it. Buy the boring index fund, max out the tax-advantaged account, build the emergency fund that lets you sleep at night. And stop, for the love of everything, stop confusing the stock market going up with your life getting better. Those are two very different things. And the sooner you figure that out, the sooner you stop being the product and start being the investor. The house always wins, but you don't have to keep betting at their table.